going to do something completely original.
It's as original as this new Star Wars.
One of the main issues I had with this movie was the structure of it. Like, I didn't feel like this thing felt like it was a well put together story on its own. I felt like it's kind of like a series of events that kind of all happen around each other. And I didn't like that there's about 3 to 4 endings in the movie. But there are a lot of things I did like in the movie. I liked that Leia had a bigger role in this movie. I liked some of what Luke did. Yeah. I liked some of what Luke did. Some. Yeah. Some of it was... No, I mean, I thought there were some good spots with tension. I thought the beginning part had some good tension to it. I want to say there was another space battle part I thought had some decent tension to it. It's not all negative. I think there's probably a lot of negative reviews of this one. Yeah. And yeah, there's a lot of negative things to talk about. Joel hated it more than me.
Hate it, but...
Well, you were very disappointed.
I was very disappointed.
You went in with higher hopes than me. I went in with the hopes I usually have of any new movie lately.
Which is, yeah.
Not much.
Blaming the trailer. I'll talk about that later a little bit.
Yeah.
My main issue, non-spoilery, was... It just seemed so slow at first. So slow. And it was a long movie. It was about 2.5 hours. And it was... so slow. Eventually it got going, but it took like an hour and a half for me to really think it got going.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree, because after we got out, the first thing I said to you was how long was that?
Yeah. Pretty long.
Yeah, especially after the fake out endings where it feels like, okay, this seems like it's where it's going to end, and then it's no, there's a whole nother big sequence after that. What? Yeah. This feels like it should be a part of another movie, not this one.
It's it felt like the writer wanted to say all this stuff, and it's he couldn't nip it in the bud, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Are we allowed to do spoilers now?
Yeah,
I guess to say.
Yeah, it's hard to not talk about much without going into spoilers, really. So we'll go into spoilers now.
I guess the main thing, like you said, my expectations were really high. The trailers looked really awesome. And I remember reading, I keep up on all this shit. They were saying, Force Awakens was basically, just a New Hope remake, and we did that intentionally. But the next movies are going to be completely original. That was not the case.
I don't keep track of that stuff like you.
Yeah.
I try to keep myself out of it as much as I can, because I don't want to get drawn into the hype or anything like that.
Yeah. The one thing I said to you was in the trailer, they really made it seem like they're going to go the gray Jedi way. If anybody doesn't know what that is, it's Luke also says, the Jedi need to end. Makes it seem like it's going to be he wants people to draw from the dark side and the light side, so that the gray Jedi...
You thought it was going to be Luke who wanted to do that.
Yeah, and in the trailer, Luke goes reach out, what do you see? And Rey goes, light, dark, a balance. That doesn't happen in the movies. She says those words, but they're not in that sequence at all. The trailer lies to you. It outright lies to you by piecing together audio to make you want to see the movie and think it's going to be awesome, and then totally disappointing you in my case.
I don't try to put too much stock into trailers because, I have noticed before that trailers are either very misleading sometimes. They will lie, this one kind of does.
Well, like I said, misleading is one thing, but, it's just outright, this does not happen in this movie.
Well, and that happens in some other trailers, too, that, like I said, with, cut scenes and stuff, they'll show...
sometimes they cut them, but this was, they pieced it together just to make you think she said this.
Sometimes movies drastically change after a trailer too, and then they're not the same movie by the time they come out.
I was just very excited about the whole Grey Jedi idea.
Yeah, it gets brought up by Kylo Ren at one point, which he kind of offers it to Rey. He's like, join me, forget the Sith and the Jedi, we'll do our own thing. And honestly, I was kind of I really hope Rey does take him up on it, like, because I figure they can, like, turn her back to the good side in the third movie, but I think just for this movie's sake, that would have been interesting, because that would have been a bigger twist on something.
Yeah.
To have her join him for a bit and do this kind of neutral thing. Whatever, however that would work. I imagine you could do that in an interesting way. Yeah. I was kind of disappointed,
that would make it too interesting. So
yeah. That's the thing, too. Like, after Kylo Ren brought it up, it's like he's just going back and taking over the First Order. So it wasn't like he was... I guess he wasn't committed to doing this at all.
Yeah, he basically just wanted her to join him.
I was hoping he was really committed to that. Yeah. And, like, so... But that would mean he's against both sides, kind of.
Yeah.
But, no, he just wants to take over the First Order, I guess.
Well, my biggest thing, other than the fact that the trailer outright lies to you, was that, they said it was going to be so original, and it was so much borrowed from, especially Return of the Jedi, a little bit from Empire Strikes Back.
Mostly Return of the Jedi. The scenes are so close.
Yeah, the only thing I really thought was kind of borrowed from Empire was Rey sees a vision and has to run off, and Luke, her master, says, "No, don't do it."
No, don't.
You know, just like Yoda. Yeah. Snoke was the Emperor. He had the same royal guards. He is just a decrepit old man.
But he had a nice red backdrop, which I guess was just like a sheet. They set it on fire at one point.
He had force lightning. Like, he was just the Emperor. And it was just like, we've seen this. And then when Rey goes and it's like, okay, I'm going to put you in handcuffs. And then they're literally riding up the elevator, and Rey is like, I sense conflict in you. It's like almost shot for shot, almost word for word.
It's like Luke on Endor, like when he goes and hands himself over to the Empire so he can see Vader, and he's in cuffs and stuff. Like Rey goes over to the First Order, gets cuffed, rides in an elevator, says, I sense the conflict in you. You don't have to do this in an elevator. The exact same thing.
Couldn't they have at least left the handcuffs out? It was just like they were taking everything. Mm-hmm. And then when she's in front of Snoke is like torturing her, kind of. And of course we go to, and then it pans to Kylo, and Kylo is looking conflicted, just like when the Emperor is torturing Luke and Darth Vader looks conflicted. Like, it was just so similar.
This one is kind of... I liked one part of this, after we get past, the Return of the Jedi, just verbatim shit. But I like the fact that Snoke just dies in this scene. They kill him off.
Yeah, that was surprising. You didn't expect that.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
But that's like, the fact they pull a twist on it. And we're saying, like, you can do a similar thing to Return of the Jedi, but you don't have to do it so exact to do it kind of similar and then put a twist on it. It shouldn't feel like you're almost watching the same events play out with different people.
Yeah, and that was... that was the biggest thing. And I said to you, too, like, how Snoke was, like, referred to Kylo Ren as young Solo, and said things like, fulfill your destiny, and it's like you're just talking exactly like the Emperor talks. And it's your own lingo.
Feels like Snoke begs more of an explanation than Palpatine did.
Yeah.
Back when the original movies came out, we didn't really know what Palpatine's deal was at all.
You're dropped into a story. Yeah, you're in the middle of it.
But, following up on it with this Snoke guy, there's the question of how this guy came about and why he's disfigured and how he built this First Order whole deal.
And with him dead now, you'll probably never know the answer to that question.
He'll probably just be in
unless
the
they do a
EU
prequel
or whatever.
To these movies.
You never know. They seem to be making so many movies. They'll probably make Star Wars a Snoke story.
Yeah, we were talking about a Solo story, and I said I did not have high hopes for that, and now I'm like, well, hopefully it's good, because I had high hopes for this movie.
Yeah, you're just going to put high hopes on that one, and then it'll betray you. Well, I sense much conflict in you, young Solo. He'll run by Palpatine in a Solo movie, and he'll say that.
He could have just said Solo. Not young Solo.
Young Solo.
It just has to make it identical.
Snoke just telegraphs his own death. Then Kylo Ren will pick up his his laser sword and kill his enemy with it.
The one thing that I really liked was, I don't think I've ever seen it. I always wanted this since I was a kid, is just turning on your lightsaber to kill someone.
Yeah.
And when Rey sends the lightsaber to Kylo and he turns the lightsaber on, it goes through the guard's
kills
head.
one of the Emperor's
I was like, I always wanted to see that. That was cool.
Yeah, that was nice to finally see that.
Didn't really save it for me.
No. That one thing made them...
I'm not saying it was awful.
No, there's a lot of parts I like about this movie. I feel like as a whole it has a lot of issues because just the format is not good.
It was supposed to be better than Force Awakens, and in my opinion it was not better than Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Which is not great, because Force Awakens, although it was a decent Star Wars movie, it felt like Star Wars way more than the sequels. It wasn't amazing, but it was supposed to be the setup for amazing movies.
Mm-hmm. It felt retready, and then when this movie retreads as well, you're just kind of like, I don't miss that there's not, Sonic greetings, this motion is terrible.
There's no politics.
No boring politics, no overly goofy
There was the relief. Funny, I didn't mind the porgs. I said.
I don't know.
I didn't think they're as stupid as they were going to be.
I don't agree, I guess, with people that are complaining about those, they ruin the movie. The Porg is not the problem. The Porg fly around with Chewie and the Falcon and make some faces. That's hardly a big deal in the 2 hours, 30 minutes of this movie.
So long.
Yeah.
This is coming from a guy who loves Lord of the Rings extended versions. So, I like long movies. I just don't like it when they feel like long movies.
Yeah, and it comes down to the way the story was formatted, where it doesn't feel like a coherent story altogether. It kind of feels like you're jumping around. This is several episodes of something that don't really fit perfectly together, but they've been mashed together.
And you said too, how in the previous series, it would jump a couple years, and then it would just fill you in with the scroll.
Yeah.
Where this was, we should have jumped forward a couple years, so we could have maybe had Luke training Kylo, I mean Rey.
Training Kylo.
And then maybe they referenced some of the backstory. Half of the movie was Kylo trying to convince Luke to train her, and Luke being
Rey.
Oh God, sorry, Rey.
Yeah, that part should definitely been cut out, where it's Rey trying to convince Luke to train her, because how many times have we seen the hero goes off after they've done their big heroic thing, I'm not going to do it ever again, and then someone else has to come and convince them to join the battle again or whatnot. It's just this is so overdone.
Yeah. The other half of the movie was, the First Order are after us, how do we get away? And it was an hour of them plotting about how to get away, and it was so boring.
Yeah, the part where they're just slowly flying their main cruiser away from the Star Destroyer fleet, and they're just taking pot shots at them. That goes so long.
It's so
also
long.
When they break off from their main thing, and they've got it was 8 escape ships or whatever, right? And they blow them up. They're blowing them up really quickly.
Yeah, 2 or 3 in 5 seconds.
It'll cut away and show the First Order guy or whatnot. Get them! We're doing so well! And then 8 again.
It's 5 minutes later, and they're destroying the same 2 or 3 they just destroyed. They would have been long destroyed. I had high hopes.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have. Lesson learned.
I liked what Leia did. I liked that we finally saw her use the Force definitively, too. Because there's one part where they just blow up the bridge of her ship and she goes flying out into space, and it kind of fakes you out that she's dead. And I kind of thought she was, given the fact that Carrie Fisher's died and stuff. But then she comes back in with the Force, forces herself back to the ship.
Pulls herself, basically, with the Force. Yeah.
I guess she had to use the Force so that she wouldn't die in space for that little bit. I'm really glad that there's a scene with Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill in the movie. It kind of made me extra sad, given Carrie Fisher's death and stuff. Luke has Force projected himself into this scene, and he gives Leia these little dice from the Millennium Falcon, and these are, Han's.
He says, like, we're never really gone or something.
Yeah. Later, once, Kylo pretends kills Luke, and then you see it's a Force projection, the dice, you're like, why were those dice there? And then the dice disappear later when Kylo picks them up. It's like, so they were Force projection dice? He gave Leia fake dice? Like, what was going to happen? Was she going to be like, oh, thanks so much for this? What, Luke? Why did he give her fake? We saw that he really did go get these dice at one point.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling they didn't think of that first, and then later they made them disappear.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Oh, those dice probably shouldn't have been there, because that doesn't make much sense. Oh, they're Force projection too. Does that make much sense? I don't know, just do it.
I don't think the review would be complete without mentioning Luke calls a lightsaber a laser sword at some point. What?
Yeah.
Why is he calling it a laser sword?
Yeah, it takes you out of the movie for a second when he does that. I get the feeling it was supposed to be him kind of condescendingly knocking the lightsaber. Oh, I'm going to take on the whole, First Order with a laser sword.
He could have been condescending and said lightsaber. He just could have been.
Yeah, it doesn't come off the way I think they intended it, really. It's so awkward that it just makes you think about it for a second. You're just like, what? Laser sword? Why'd he say that?
The trailer blatantly lied, and the people blatantly lied by saying they were going to be totally original, and then just a third of the movie was Return of the Jedi. But
Luke, I guess, dies at the end of this, sort of. He disappears after he does his Force projection battle with Kylo Ren, and we both kind of thought that's a little weak.
Yeah. He'll be back as a Force ghost, no doubt, but pretty anticlimactic.
That reminds me, though, a couple of things I did like when Luke's talking to R2. Those are some of the moments in this where he feels more like Luke.
Yeah.
Where he's talking to R2, talking to Chewie.
Yeah, when Chewie bursts in and he's like, Chewie, it was like, that was the first time I was like, oh yeah, there's Luke.
Yeah, because he just seems like angry old man on an island for a while.
Which I guess he is.
Yeah.
I guess there was this part we kind of disagree on, is I didn't really like the Yoda scene. I thought Yoda was a little too silly, especially when he kicked his feet. They were like, see, he's not a puppet, he kicks his feet. It was kind of weird to me.
I liked the Yoda scene because I thought it was another one where Luke felt like Luke, and also because he comes in and I guess you can use Force lightning after you're dead still, but Luke's going on about these stupid Jedi books he has in a tree. And he's like, I'm going to burn them all down, Yoda! And he thinks Yoda cares, and then Yoda's just like, oh, I don't care. And he blows up the tree with lightning. Just books they are. Don't matter, they do.
He was so pre-training Luke Yoda.
Just pretending to be a native who's kind of eccentric.
A dick, basically. Like, oh, yeah, I'll steal your stuff. Yeah. He seems to be like that most of the encounter.
He talked to him after. I liked the scene, but I still thought about it after, because basically Yoda's giving Luke a kick in the butt to realize he's being silly about this whole thing, but it's like, waited too long I did. Should have came and kicked Luke in the ass earlier.
Yeah. I think the whole sequence got jaded for me just because he kicked his feet. And it made like a really loud noise when he kicked his little tiny ghost feet.
Yeah.
Like, why is it so loud? It was just like, he has feet! He has feet! I don't know. It was weird. Yoda's feet ruined the movie.
Yeah, that was the main thing.
I didn't enjoy it much, but there was no Hayden Christensen ghost. So we can all be thankful for that.
There's a lot of prequel actors I wouldn't mind showing up in one of these, because a lot of them are good actors, just those prequels had horrible scripts. But Hayden Christensen's not one of them.
I was really hoping to see Qui-Gon and he'd be like, oh, Rey has a lot of midichlorians.
Poe had a decent story in this one, kinda.
It was just kind of like, I don't listen to the rules.
Yeah.
That was his whole
But there was a lot of, twists in this. It didn't even mention Laura Dern's character comes in and she's leader of the resistance for a little bit.
Well, that was another weird thing when she goes down with the ship sort of thing and Leia's saying goodbye. It's super emotional. But, as the viewer, we're like, who cares?
Yeah.
We don't know this person. Actually,
we've mostly been
sort of horrible.
Yeah, the way the movie's framed it as, for the most part, is that she's horrible and not listening to Pose in the right, even though they show that she was doing the right thing.
Even if she was in the right, it just she wasn't there long enough. There was no backstory for you to care much.
It was kind of cool though when she did take the ship to light speed and right into the Star Destroyers, but that kind of makes me think, why wasn't that the plan in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to lose the ship. They're going to blow it up. Why don't we light... She's going down with it. Why don't they just light speed it into them? That seems like that was really effective.
Which brings up another thing.
Yeah.
When Finn and... Is it Lucy is the girl?
Yeah, I think so.
Lucy. Yeah, and they're captive on the dreadnought or whatever, and ship goes through it, and then it cuts to them, and everyone's dead except Finn and Lucy, who are totally fine. Fine enough that Finn has a big fight after.
Except Phasma and her little gang, I guess, just jumped out into the hallway or something for a second. But yeah, a lot of them are dead by them.
Never explained how Phasma survived. Let's put her in the trash chute in the last movie, and then the entire planet blows up, but I guess she escaped, but...
Yeah.
No
Do you think she's still alive after this one?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, because I can see them easily ignoring that. It's just like, oh, she fell down a fiery pit. If we can crash compact her
into an explosion.
Yeah.
But she'll be back.
Yeah, she's back. So I guess Han can be back.
Yes, that's another thing, is I heard that the entire cast of The Force Awakens was going to be back in this one. But so people were like, is Han alive? Is Han a ghost? Are there flashbacks?
Yeah.
Whatever. None of that. There was no Han.
I don't like that so far it's been like, Force Awakens, Han dies. The Last Jedi, Luke dies.
Yeah, it's like they want to completely get rid of all the characters. Obviously, Episode 9, Leia's not going to be around.
Which is super depressing, because she's the one main trilogy character that's around at the end of this movie.
And if she is around at all, it'll probably be CG, and it'll probably be brief.
And I don't know what I think about that. Oh yeah, let's talk briefly about that hacker guy.
Oh, he was so dumb.
I didn't know for sure, like he did, that Billy D. Williams wasn't in the movie, so they're like, oh, this guy could hack into it. It's like, oh man, I hope that's Lando. And then it's like, oh, it's just this guy. I'm like, oh.
That would have redeemed the movie.
Yeah, it's like, Lando. Oh, this guy. Who's this? I don't care about him.
I'll do anything for money.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, but I'm going to actually become good. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of it. They're setting it up that he's going to
maybe in the
change his
movie.
mind. Who cares at this point?
But that's what
he had his chance and it's gone. You know?
Yeah, I know. I did like them riding those things through that city, the casino, and those animals.
That was alright.
They had a lot of cute animals in this one.
Fan of the casino in general, though.
I guess it made sense though. There's a bunch of people profiting on this war.
It does make sense. I just wasn't a huge fan of
They probably could have done it a little better, just like a lot of the movie. They could have done it a little better. Yeah. There's some good ideas in here, but could have been executed a bit better than they did. I can still watch either of these over the prequels, but I mean, I want them to be... That's
not saying much.
Yeah, that is not saying much.
1.5 thumbs down.
Much conflict I sense in me about this movie. Yes.
Damn it. Don't you dare kick your feet.